Hello and welcome to Swedish Tales of Horror and Drama. This is the sensational and sad story of the man who may have been the strongest man in the world, Anders Andersson, who was born in 1857 outside the then very small village of Karlskoga in western Sweden. He was born into a poor family, however all were tall and strong. It is possible that Andersson had acromegaly, that is overproduction of a growth hormone. He was normally tall and large until the age of 18, but then continued to grow. Andersson's strength and ability to work was enormous. In the middle and towards the end of the 19th century, it was a great asset to be strong and industrious, since practically all work was still manual. He was born in the Bergslagen mining area, which received a significant boost when iron ore and other minerals were found there. Countless mines were opened and all needed laborers. This fitted Anders perfectly. Anders ended up in the small mining town of Ställberg in the middle of the large mining area in Bergslagen. He got his nickname there, Ställbergsjätten, the giant from Ställberg. He was 230 centimeters tall, that is 9 feet, and weighed about 160 kilograms, 355 pounds. He had the shoe size of 62 Europe sizes, 27 UK and 23.5 US size. This equates to almost 40 centimeters or 16 inches. It was said that if you put wheels on his shoes, you could use them as a pram. Ordinary big and strong men looked scrawny and malnourished around him. However, Anders was not only tremendously strong, he was also an extremely kind, caring and quiet man. And that was probably fortunate. On the left picture you can see one of the quarries where Anders worked. There were open quarries, as in the picture, as well as underground mines. During the late 19th century, industrialization gained momentum and drove the need for iron and iron ore. The various wars during the same period were also a driving factor. Iron was needed for cannons and other weapons. Through his hard work in the mines, Anders became stronger every day. In those days, no gyms were needed. You got the training you needed at work. I want to remind everyone who wants to see more episodes of Swedish horror and drama to press the like button and to press subscribe if you like this video. Anders moved to the nearby Grängesberg in 1894, and he was of course then called the Grängesberg Giant. The large picture shows one of the open quarries in Grängesberg. There are countless stories about Anders' unimaginable strength. When manually handling the iron ore boulders in the quarry, Anders could easily handle rocks of up to 150 kilograms, that is 330 pounds. In 1894, when he moved into the workers' barracks with a shared dormitory, he brought with him a hand-forged 7-inch nail. He took the nail with the nail head inside his hand and drove it 5 inches into a wooden beam with his bare hand, and then said, "This is where my clothes will hang." It was weirdly quiet in the barrack after that. Anders was quiet and almost never got into fights, but his workmates sometimes played tricks on him. One day they sawed the wooden leg off his chair, and when Anders sat down the leg broke and he fell backwards. The comrades gave up a horse laugh. Anders didn't get visibly angry, but went and threw the chair out onto the firewood pile. When he came back he had a 150 kilos boulder with him, which he put down and sat himself on. Then there was a stop in the guffaw. Everyone in the work team realized that Anders was more than twice as strong as really strong ordinary man. In the picture you can note his hands and compare to the hands of ordinary men. The hands were more than twice the size of a normal man's hand, and his fingers were over 40 millimeters in diameter. This is known because his rings were measured. In the name of honesty, of course, there is no way to certainly know if the Stellberg giant really was the strongest man in the world. He may well have been, but there are stories of other giants who were also incredibly strong. Anders' family were all very strong. His sister Lovisa alone carried home a 50-kilo grinding stone 2 kilometers from the trading booth, and she also on one occasion carried 60 kilograms of blueberries 4 kilometers to the market in Karlskoga to sell them. His brother Carl immigrated to America and ended up in Chicago, where he became a police officer. You can see him here in the small photo in the middle. Carl was taller than Anders, about 240 centimeters, that is 9.5 feet, but not as strong as Anders. You sometimes wish that we could have policemen like Carl in Sweden nowadays. The other pictures show environments from old Stellberg mine, where Anders began his career. Lower left is a train loaded with iron ore. Please hit like and subscribe if you want to see more material like this. Towards the end of his life, Anders had worn out his body. He was simply stronger than was good for him in the long run. He was mostly bedridden in the bachelor barracks where he lived, and when he got the Spanish flu in 1918, it got really bad. The Poor Service was given responsibility for Anders, and he received food portions that were as small as all the other poor persons. He therefore became very ill and died of a stroke on October 16, 1918. While waiting for the funeral, his body was laid on a bench outside in a shed. When he was to put in the special-made coffin a few days later, rats had eaten his face away. It was a horrible and undignified end for a very fine, kind and quiet giant of a man. He is buried in the cemetery in Grängesberg under a simple wooden cross. Rest in peace, Anders. We will never forget you.